big deep breath in, out. Yes, Gianna? I did. We're going to dive into the world of fairy tales. Of what?
Fairy tales.
As we dive in, I want you to remember a couple of the elements of fairy tales. But first things first. Stories that are made up are called?
Fiction.
They're called fiction. A fairy tale is fiction, of course, right? It is made up, it comes from our imagination. As we know, many of the fairy tales that we have read come from the mind of the Brothers Grimm, right? From Germany, way back when. I said, my friend, Kalia, what are you getting up for? Thank you. All right, you can get a tissue. Yes, Zion. The other one is called nonfiction. I agree. Addie, quickly so we can move on.
Did the Brothers Grimm make all of it?
The Brothers Grimm didn't make every fairy tale ever, but they did make quite a few fairy tales. Remember we had discussed about the book that they wrote was immensely popular for a very long time. It inspired a lot of the fairy tales that we know today through Disney and things like that, although they've been changed a bit. But I want to move on. We'll get back to the Brothers Grimm another time. I want to make sure we get to our lesson today, okay? Wonderful. So I want us to think about the elements of fairy tales. I'm going to kind of give you some hints, and I want to pull a stick, and I'm going to ask if you can tell me what the element is. So first, I want to think right here at this magic wand. There's something that exists in most fairy tales. It helps things happen. We call it fantasy. What is involved in most fairy tales? Liliana. What element of the fairy tale do you think I'm referring to here with the wand? Put it down. Sir, please do not interrupt my friend when she's speaking. Liliana, I want you to think about what I told you. Listen to my question, okay? So I'm telling you, this is something that happens only in fairy tales. It's fantasy. It's why the story might be considered fiction. And it also helps when events happen. So I'll give you an example of one and see if you can think about it. In Rumpelstiltskin, he makes hay into gold. What do we call that? Look at the hint that I'm giving you. I promise that you know this. Think about it. Do not become shy or intimidated by this question. You got it, girl. Shh. It does have the magic. It has a just sound, right, for a G. We wrote it earlier today. We spelled it earlier today. Who can help Liliana? Tell me on three. 1, 2, 3. Magic. What is it, Liliana? Magic. Thank you. Take a seat. I'll come back to you later on. It's magic. That's right. Fantasy and magic is a big element of fairy tales. Next, I want you to look here at this image. I want to make sure everybody's on their bottom, not touching my things. Thank you. Right here, this will help you out. They are real. They exist in most fairy tales, every fairy tale we read anyway. Jordan, what exists in most of the fairy tales that we've read? Stand up, Jordan. What does this symbol remind you of? Who wears those? The king. Yeah, what do we call that? You're exactly right. There's many kings, queens, princesses, princes. What do we call those people? We call them royalty. What is it?
Royalty.
Yes, thank you, Jordan. We call that royalty. Fairy tales often have royalty, right? Kings, queens, princes, and princesses. No, thank you, not at this moment. Oh, I gave it away, my bad. Oops. I meant celebration. Most fairy tales end with what? A happy ending. A lot of them end with what? Happily ever after. All right, lastly over here, I have these two very important symbols. They sort of remind me of what we do in our story maps for other fiction stories when we have a conflict, right? So we look here, that symbol tells us, alert, alert, there's danger. And then the light bulb is for ideas. What does each fairy tale usually has a big one of these, and then it has these to help remedy that. Let's see what we can, who knows what they're called. We fill it out every day on our elements of fairy tale chart. Layla, what do we call that? Tracking Layla?
We call it.
Ooh, smart. Ooh, yep, she's looking over at our chart. We call it what? Problems. And what's the other part?
The other one.
What helps solve our problems? Shh, let her answer. Let her answer. She nailed it. It's every great story, and especially fairy tale, has a humongous big problem they have to solve, or problems they have to solve. I know you know what it's called solutions. What is it? Solutions. Thank you. So there's problems and solutions. So let's go over these really quickly. There is fantasy and magic. There is what?
Fantasy and magic.
There is royalty. There is
Loyalty.
there is happy endings. And then there's problems and solutions. Today we're going to be reading another fairy tale that has a major problem. You may have heard a version of it before. I don't want to hear about those versions right now. I don't want anybody to give away. Some of us may have never heard this story. It is called AJ, Hansel and Gretel. What's it called? Hansel and Gretel. Make sure on your bottom it's just like Carvel, just like Raziel is, just like AJ is. So we're gonna take a look here at our fantasy and reality chart, okay? So tell me, what does that mean? Why are these things under the fantasy side over here? Steven, why are these images, stand up my love and share with us? They're under the fantasy side because?
They're under the fantasy because they are not real.
They are not real. Evaluate, agree or disagree. Agree or disagree. Turn off my fan for me, please. He nailed it.
He nailed it.
Yes, they're not real. What makes them not real? I want some more details. Bethel, what makes these images not real? What makes them fantasy? Tracking Bethel.
Even they're not real because one was silk skin. You see these are gold and these are not gold. But those are almost a color.
He makes
gold.
hay into gold, right? Is that real? No.
And this story is
What's not real in that image?
Sleeping Beauty.
Yes, it's Sleeping Beauty, the fairy, right? Thank you, my Bethel. Give him a whoop whoop. And then, of course, we have over here Sleeping Beauty, who slept for how many years?
100.
And then we have a talking frogs. Don't really talk. It'd be cool if they did, though. You know, it'd be cool to have a talking frog as a class pet, but I have enough humans who talk, so I don't need a talking frog too. Addie, is it about this?
Yes.
Addie,
If Rumpelstiltskin makes hay to gold, that means the crown and all the stuff that they're wearing, even isn't real. That means that he made that gold.
not necessarily. Rumpelstiltskin only exists in his story, right? We can't assume he exists in the other stories unless the author tells us that. Right? Remember, we can't guess. We have to have evidence. We have to have what? Evidence. You got to tell me the reason. All right. Next, we have our reality over here. We have kings and queens. Some of us got fooled by that because they're illustrations. Remember, informational text can have illustrations too, just like the Green Fern Zoo. But I'm going to show you an image. Take a look at it. I want to see what you notice on this image. What do you notice here in this image? When I pull somebody's stick, I need it to be quiet so I can hear them. Mario, what are you noticing here in this image? Tracking Mario. Pause. Tracking Mario.
I noticed there's
Once a moment, Mario. I'm so sorry. I have a few people not tracking you. I need you tracking them. I need them tracking you immediately. Zion, I'm talking to you, sir. Turn around and look at Mario. He's talking. Yes, Mario, talk to us.
I see two humans and
See
a
two humans?
wooden chair and I see a crown.
You see some crowns. Ooh, you see that. You're giving me lots of delicious details. Mario, who do you think they might be? What do you think they might do for a living? What's their job, do you think?
I think they are a queen and a king.
Okay. What do we call that? Roy.
Royalty!
Yes, this is, take a seat. This is currently right here. Take a look at my green finger. This is currently the Queen of England, the Queen of the UK, United Kingdom. Her name is Queen Elizabeth, okay? Then here, this is actually her son. Her son is the Prince Charles, okay? And he'll be the next King of England. That's her son, her oldest son. So, and she has been the Queen for, I want to make sure I get this correct, because I know she is in her 90s, but I think she's been ruling for at least 70 years, 70 or 80, well, we can look it up, but she's celebrating an anniversary. She's the longest serving royal in history, okay? So she is royalty, but royalty today is a lot different than it was way back when in the stories that we've read before, or from the pharaohs, right? I'm gonna move on, my friends. I want hands down, but I just wanted to show that to you. So that goes under fantasy or reality. Tell me on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Reality!
We'll go under reality. We're going to move on. Time for vocabulary. Words you need to know. Comforted. Show me comforted. Comfort yourself, please. Please don't touch other people. Please comfort yourself. Comfort yourself, my AJ. When you're comforted, that means that you feel soothed. You try to help someone feel better. So I know many of you have comforted your friends when they're not feeling good. Is it important to this moment right now for me to know this? Beto, Mario, Zion, are you reporting or are you tattling? Right. Yes, because you were touching people too, right? Thank you. All right, eyes up here. So, when we comfort people, we're helping them feel better, right? So all of us here have comforted other people. Addie, now's not the moment. We've comforted other people, maybe when our friends are not feeling good, when they fell on the playground, when their feelings got hurt, we help them get comforted. Yusuf comforted his sister when she fell off the bike. Glittered. Show me glittered. Glittered. Glittered means to sparkle, right? We know all about that. We love glitter. So when something glitter, we know the word glitter refers to like the art supply that you might put, right, that makes things shiny. So if if it glittered, that means that it was shiny, it was spectacular to me. Her mother's dress glittered in the light. Raise a strong hand and I will call on you. Yes, Clea, you may go. No, you may not. You need to wait, sir, so she's done. Noah. Looks like a cupcake a little bit. It does. AJ? Or
that made mask and on glitter on the mask.
yes, there may be glitter on the mask. So I'm using a vocabulary word real quick. Yesterday we learned about the word glared, and I'm glaring right now at some people who are talking when I'm teaching. Please fix it. Next. Shocked.
Shocked!
Show me your shocked face. All right. Wonderful. It means that you're surprised, right? Maybe if you're shocked, you might use an exclamation point, an exclamation, because it's a strong emotion. The teacher was shocked by the mess in the classroom at the end of snack time. I've definitely been shocked by the mess before. All right, it is time for us to begin